Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit Britain, a country where 400 knives and 2 guns have been seized in Crown Courts. And also, welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages you sent me, and a special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that have signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go through all the messages, I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. So as I was saying, actually I've got to say special RIP to Sidney Poitier. Alright, one of the greatest actors ever, I would say. Do you know what I mean? I think he was I think he was the first black actor to get one of those awards. What these guys, these guys every year they pat themselves on the back for being in some of the finest industries in the world. So what they do is every year they give themselves a good pat on the back with several different award ceremonies. You know what I mean? It's just award to something. Yeah, you get an Oscar. Yeah, you're brilliant. Right. So so R.I.P. to Sidney Poitier. Because he was in the heat of the night, I believe, and as well. And then he's in a film called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Brilliant film. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Right. And if you want to, if I can explain, right, from that film, I can explain, right, black and Asian Brexiters. Right, because all you have to do is watch that film, right, and then look at the person who treats Sidney Poitier the worst in that film. Right, out of everybody in the film, just look at who treats him the worst, right? And I'll put you out of your misery, right, because it's the black maid. Right, she treats him the worst out of because everybody else in the film is white, apart from I think it's just apart from him. I think his parents come into it. I watched it when I was really, really young, so I think his parents might come. I think his parents might come into it at some stage. I have to watch it again actually because I haven't watched it. Because I did watch it when I was really, really young, but I can always remember the black maid. She was the person who treated him the worst in the whole film. Do you know what I mean? And it really always gave me a laugh. But that would explain black and Asian people who are Brexiters, or the ones who or the ones who vote, right, for the Tories, especially I'm talking about the working class ones. I ain't talking about the rich ones, right? Because the rich ones, right, they're voting for the Tories, yeah, because you know what, the Tories are for rich people. So that's why they vote, like your Kwasi Kwarteng and people like that, people who went to Eton and that. Yeah, I look at those type of black people and say, well, you know what, they are Tories because they are real Tories. These guys are your Etonians and all this type of nonsense, right? So yeah, so as I said, yeah, Sidney Poitier, R.I.P. to him, one of the greatest actors to have ever lived. I don't know if, and obviously now, but this week, yeah, we had it was the 6th of January. So Joe Biden had a fantastic speech. I mean, his speech and Kamala Harris's speech was absolutely brilliant. I mean, right? But Joe Biden is, he's still got to defend himself, right, for winning the presidency, right? Because it's something like 50 or 60%, right, of Republicans who don't believe, right, that he's a legitimate leader, right, and that's really, that is, it's absolutely crushing their democracy at the moment. And then you've got Trump, right, after Joe Biden's speech, who came out and just carried on with the massive lies. You know what I mean? The whole steal nonsense. You know what I mean? And you think to yourself, hold on a minute. So what you're saying, right, is that you was the sitting president. Remember, you're the sitting president, and you've allowed them to steal the election from under you while you're the sitting president. I mean, seriously? Isn't it normally the sitting president that fixes the election, not the incoming person, right? It's normally the sitting president that does all that nonsense. I mean, but Trump is still pushing the big lie. Do you know what I mean? And even the Fox News have been they've been shocking, because on the day itself, the Fox News host was all texting, Trump, some of Trump's aides to say to him, listen, you need to tell the president to make a speech and tell the people to stop, tell them to go home, right? And then you had you had the other one, Cancun Ted, right? Who come out and said, well, enough is enough, or whatever. Or that was Lindsay Davis, or whoever it is, who said, well, enough is enough, and all this. And next thing, and then the day after that, right, they're there, right, kissing Trump's fucking arse, and think to yourself, hold on a minute. 1 minute you're saying enough is enough, and next thing you're picking up his fucking golf balls. Seriously. Do you know what I mean? And then, you got so much people over there, yeah. I have no clue, right, what these people are, I'm going to go back to Professor Chomsky, right, because the latest video I saw from him, he was actually addressing everything that Joe Biden was speaking about, but he addressed it, he was addressing it in a much more fluid and upfront fashion, and he was talking about fascism, right? The rise of fascism, right? And that is what we're seeing in America, right? And it's a very, very, very sad state of affairs, because now, yeah, I'm seeing, yeah, people from the left, right, saying, well, you know something, yeah, the only thing we can do is arm ourselves as well. Right, because people from the right are saying, well, how much elections do these people have to steal before we kill them? Before we just start shooting them? How much elections? So now you have people from the left saying, well, you know something, because if I know that my neighbour's going, if I'm in a country where we're allowed to have guns, and I know there's a good chance my neighbour is going to come in, bust in my door, and come and shoot me and my family up. Right, then I'm going to make sure that I've got something waiting for you behind that door too. Right, the same lethal force what you'll be coming into my house with. Right, so this is where America is going to. Do you know what I mean? Where now you've got both sides are saying, well, you know something, the only way we can really deal with this is by lethal force. Right, and all of this, yeah, is down to President Trump. Right, because we shouldn't be at a stage here where, you lose an election and then you start talking about how an election's stolen in what is supposed to be one of the greatest democracies in the world. Seriously, right? You've got Putin and the guy from China just laughing their heads off at you, right? Just laughing their heads off at America, just like because that shit is in chaos. Right, it's in motherfucking chaos. You've got people beating police officers, right, with flagpoles with an American flag on it, chucking extinguishers in the back of police officers' heads, right, crushing them indoors, spraying them with bear spray, right, and you've got Tucker Colson and people like this talking about, this was not no insurrection. Of course, it was an insurrection. If this was right, black people, Antifa, Black Lives Matter. Actually, it was Black Lives Matter because I was there. I was there in spirit, and I was helping them. I was opening that door with the Proud Boys. Yeah, right. You've got groups of like the Proud Boys. Right, this is a group who have risen up, right, to fight against Antifa. So, well, you got to break that down, right? Antifa, right, is anti-fascist. So, if you have a group, right, that forms to combat an anti-fascist group, what does that make that group that has formed to combat the anti-fascist group? Because the anti-fascist group is fighting against the tyranny of the government. It's not fighting against tyranny of the people. It's fighting against tyranny of the government. That's what it's fighting against. Right? So they are just using. Because these guys would have just been like the Ku Klux Klan back in the day. And look, the Ku Klux Klan, right, are a group who are still allowed to exist. Why are they still allowed to exist? Why? How come they're still allowed to exist? How come we all know the leader? The leader, he's a TV, he's on the TV, on radio, on all over the internet and all these things. So how does that work? Why is he not in prison? Right? Why have they not said, you know what, this is a, if your clan, it's an illegal group and you'll be thrown into prison if you ever found out to be a member. You've got loads of sheriffs in loads of these towns that are Ku Klux Klan. Loads of them. Do you know what I mean? And, the whole of the American law enforcement services has been infiltrated by these type of people. Completely infiltrated by these type of people. But all over America, because they learned from years ago that was the place to be. Right? If they want to get away, right, with really disgusting racial crimes, right, then having a uniform on helps. It helps a lot. Do you know what I mean? Helps even more if you can have a military uniform on and they send you abroad to go and do your race and abroad to go and do all your racist work. Right? Helps even more. Do you know what I mean? Because then you can certainly slaughter. You can then absolutely slaughter as many brown folk as you want. Right? With no comeback. With no comeback at all. So America is in one state. It's in an absolutely horrible place. America's in. Do you know what I mean? Because now both sides are just going to start getting as violent as each other. Because the right wing, that's the only way how they know to deal with stuff. The only way they know to deal with stuff is through violence. Because in America, you've literally got two types of politics, which is right wing and far right. That's it. Do you know what I mean? They've poisoned everything else. I mean, these guys, you ask the average American, yeah, they couldn't tell you the difference between a socialist, yeah, and a communist. They have no clue. Right? They've got no clue because they haven't got the education level to understand the difference between those two things. Right? And and obviously they've been poisoned. They've been poisoned against, they've been poisoned against both of those things. But they believe they're the same. I was speaking to a guy the other day, right, who was saying this to me. Do you know what I mean? Because one of my right wing friends, right? Some people, like, I think it's more of a wind up thing because with Donald Trump, yeah, I think a lot of his support, right, comes from people who just want, I just want to see what happens when the whole thing is just shook up. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, but you see me, right? I would say, well, you know what? If you're in, because they say, well, they explain it to me in that type of way. But I say, no, if you're in with Trump, then you're in with all of it, right? You're in with all of it, everything. You're in with, when his supporters are walking through, like Charlottesville or wherever, right? And they're saying, you will not replace us and the Jews will not replace us. You're in with all of that. That's who you are. You're supporting these people. That's who you. If you support Trump, you support that as well. You support the fact, that people say, oh well, no, he's not a racist. But they'll say, well, why is it that back in the 70s, he got sued because he wouldn't rent his buildings to black people. I mean, what was that about then? They say, no, he's not a racist because, But then, why was his dad always at Ku Klux Klan rallies? Oh, he was just standing on the side, just seeing what was going on. Well, on those type of things, yeah, there's always two sides. When you've got Ku Klux Klan rallies and things like that, you've always got two sides. You've got the side where the Ku Klux Klan is, and you've got the other side, right, who's opposing them. So why are you always standing on that side where the Ku Klux Klan are? That's like me going to like a Black Lives Matter event and say, well, you know what, I'm just here, just like, just looking, seeing what's going on. It's just bullshit. Do you know what I mean? So, they're saying America is in some serious problems. Do you know what I mean? And I do really like the way how Kamala Harris, like, she linked this to like dates, special dates, like Pearl Harbor or September the 11th, 9/11. Right? She linked it to these, and the right wing are going, oh, how dare she? Well, is it fucking insurrection? Right, when the people was walking up in there, they were saying, I heard some of the people say, 1776. Okay, fair enough, right? So as I said, America has got some serious problems, and Trump is not helping. But then, see, Trump is lucky he's not dealing with me, because if he was dealing with me, I'd have had his ass locked up a long time ago, right, for the insurrection. The day after it happened, I would have had the FBI go and pick him up, right, and throw his ass in prison, right, for what he done, because all of that was his fault. 5 people dead, his fault, right? And yes, they're absolutely right to link that as a day for everybody in the world to remember. Now we've still got problems with the Colson statue, right? We've got a lot of people standing up for the Colson statue, not happy that it's been torn down, and then you've got what's her face, Suella Braverman, or whatever her face is, the Justice Secretary, saying, oh, she wants to she would like to take it back to the Court of Appeal or whatever. But I'm not sure whether or not she knows how to, because she's the Justice Secretary, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she knows anything about the law, because I don't know what her background is. Do you know what I mean? So I haven't looked into her background. But you know what the Tories are like. Do you know what I mean? They're just, remember, they've put like oh God, what's his face in charge of, DEFRA, in charge of, so you just have to wonder to yourself, hold on a minute, they would put anybody in charge of anything. Right? So I don't know if Suella Braverman, yeah. I was thinking of Reg Varney, right? Yeah, they've put Reg Varney in, he's in charge of DEFRA, and, that's not run very well. Do you know what I mean? George Useless Eustace, right? So, this is the thing with these guys. Whoever it is, they just put them in charge and say, yeah, don't worry, you go and do that job, though. So I don't really know what her background is anyway, but I don't know whether or not she knows how the law works, because there is just absolutely no way, right, that you can refer, a not guilty verdict back to the to any high courts of appeal. It's just completely unheard of. And it's just, it would have to be something else that I don't know, because the law that got tested, yeah, for me it was it did seem like a very, very strange, right, defence. I liked the defence. I thought it was a brilliant defence, right? And I suppose that's why these guys, right, go to university for so many years, because that was an absolutely fantastic strategy they came up with. Do you know what I mean? That the statue is an offence to the people of Bristol. I mean, you couldn't really make it up, right? Now, I don't know if it's on that type of basis, because nothing like that has ever been seen in any court. I don't think anywhere in the world. I don't think anywhere in the world, and that has set a real precedent for the rest of the world. Just because I don't know, because it is a fantastic. It's a fantastic. That's really an attack. It's a defensive attack, right? Because you've given the jury no way. Because I would buy that, but then it's easy to sell it to me, because I don't like statues of slave masters, so it would be quite easy to sell it to me. I would have been finding them. I would have started off, that they was going to be found not guilty from the beginning if I was on the jury. Right? So I would have just maybe had some, I don't know, I could have just done a Tom Daley and just brought some knitting out. And I should say congratulations to Tom Daley, because he had a really fantastic last year. Right? So yeah, I could just broke out some knitting if I was on the jury and just said, you know what, yeah, just wake me up when it's done, right? And I've already got my vote in. I know I'm voting, right, on that jury. Right. So yeah. So I don't know what she's talking about. Do you know what I mean? Or how she expects to challenge, or what she expects to challenge over it. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's probably just like just red meat that she's got to throw to the Brexiters, because that's who all of this. That's who this is to impress. Do you know what I mean? Because it's only it's the Brexiters. It's always going to be the Brexiters who are the people who say, "Oh no, that you should say no," because it's history. History. Well, fuck your fucking history, right? You should feel ashamed of that motherfucker. Put the motherfucker in a museum. But it is a museum, so that's the best place for it. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of Boris Johnson this morning, yeah? Right? They've done the man, yeah, with a flipping penis on his head. Right? Dressed up as a clown with a penis on... These people aren't even subtle anymore. Right? They're just in your face with this stuff now. Because they know, I mean, all these guys are absolutely realising now, yeah, that the whole clown show thing, it's not funny anymore. Once upon a time, it was a big joke. Now it's not so funny anymore, right? You know, the joke is done. Right, that's what these guys are realising, right? Even the Telegraph, right? The Telegraph, the Mail, all these guys, they're calling them out on a lot of the stuff what's going on with Brexit, because they can see that Brexit, right, is going really, really badly. It's going as bad as it could possibly go. Right? In fact, it's going doubly bad. It's going worse. A little worser. Right? That's what's going on with Brexit. Right? Everything, right, has been a complete and utter shambles. Complete and utter. But we're going to speak about Brexit in a minute, because we really need to speak about Kazakhstan. Because what's going on over there? Because the president has just like said that he's put in like a shoot to kill policy. Do you know what I mean? And so I think Russia's had to send some troops over up in there. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously, Kazakhstan was part of the Soviet Union before, isn't it? So the Russians are sending people in there. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not really for the West to really start getting involved in Russia, in what's going on in that region. Do you know what I mean? This is why I have a problem with when the West wants to go and step in and then they want to go and start putting their NATO bases all around Russia. And Russia, right, have got things to concern themselves about when NATO's trying to corner them in. Do you know what I mean? So it's understandable for them to say, you know what, no. You can't be putting bases here, there, and everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Next thing you want to corner us in, and you want to corner in like China and all that. Do you know what I mean? So they say no, right? So at the moment we've got the build up on the borders of bloody hell. On one of the borders, on one of the Russian borders, we've got like a build up of I think about 100,000 Russian troops are there, but obviously they're there for their to do exercises and all that type of stuff, as Putin would probably put it, right? But but Kazakhstan, do you know what I mean? It just seems to be some kind of madness going on out there. But I think they pulled down a statue. They pulled down a statue, I think of the former. I think it's of the former leader. But as I said in videos from before, yeah, this is the problem in the world, right? It just seems that people seem to want to vote for people who are absolutely crazy to be in power. Right. I don't know. For some reason they all seem to be the people that say, well, you know what? Yeah, the world. It's been an aggressive person who will make sure that they look after you and like press the nuclear button. Okay, whatever. Right. But all these countries just they just seem to have some crazies. Do you know what I mean? You've got Putin obviously in Russia, do you know what I mean? And then you've got like, you had Trump in America, do you know what I mean? And then and you've got Trump making someone like Kim Jong-un into some type of worldwide international. I mean, like as if to say, North Korea was a problem for It's the only time North Korea became a problem is when Trump came in and he made them into a problem by putting them on the world stage, because no one gives a fuck what the hell is going on in North Korea, right? The only people, right, who really care what's going on in North Korea are the North Koreans. right? Because they're the people, right, who are watching this fool spend all that money, right, on military weapons that look like they should be out of. They come out of Thunderbirds. I can't remember which Thunderbird it is, but you know, the wide, flat one, right? That's what his weapons look like. And Donald Trump made this guy into like he was some problem for somebody. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he's not a problem for South Korea, right? Because South Korea, they make their own military jets. They're one of the few countries in the world who make their own military jets, and South Korea is one of them. Right? So North Korea would never be a problem for South Korea. South Korea would destroy them in a few hours. Right? Just ridiculous. Right? So I was saying, yeah. You know, Kazakhstan, right? You know, the leader just seems to be just a complete and utter fucking screwball. Do you know what I mean? And because I think so, what's happened over there? Because you know, Kazakhstan is like, it's absolutely massive, right? I'm sure it's about the size of Northern Europe. So it's absolutely massive. Do you know what I mean? And people don't know much about it. Do you know what I mean? But you know, they've got a lot of resources in Kazakhstan, because obviously I think there are a lot of gas and all that, and natural gases and oils and whatever, and all that type of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So, but people don't know too much about it over there, right? But what's happened over there is that because they use a lot of LPG, and apparently the prices have doubled. So I think it kicked off over there a few months ago, but this time it's really proper kicking off over there. And I see like soldiers over there, do you know what I mean? Like using the proper soldier stance to look like they was like murdering people. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Just looks like absolute chaos over there. Do you know what I mean? So I hope the people over there, you know, maybe get that shit sorted, because the last thing you need here is to have fucking soldiers shooting people. Do you know what I mean? In the fucking streets and all that type of nonsense. Right, I don't know. You know, for Boris Johnson, yeah, all the nonsense has started again, right, with the text messages and all this. You know, let me tell you this, right? If this was the case, right, if this was you, right, and you and the police had this information, right, and these text messages saying, what do you know? What's going on with that money from Boris Johnson? Back to Boris Johnson. Hi, Prime Minister. How are you today? Yeah, the money's all in order. Don't worry, right? I know where all the money's coming from, because it's basically coming straight from him. Lord Brownlow must be a fucking dick. Boris Johnson must just look at him and think to himself, like, this guy, he's a fucking dick. But it seems there was a little quid pro quo going on. Do you know what I mean? Because in the text message, Brownlow's text back Boris Johnson and said, Prime Minister, what about that project that we spoke about? How is that going? And Boris Johnson just text back and say, well, you know what, yeah, don't worry, everything's good with that. You can go ahead, basically, right? When do you think I can have the funds? When can I get the cash, the money, the spondoolies? When can I get it? That's how Prime Minister. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's just a level of corruption that, you know what? You know, I'm just sick of that level of corruption. That's all. Just sick of that level of corruption. Do you know what I mean? And we must speak about, yeah, the story that I spoke about at the beginning. Right? 400 people. 400. Count them. Sorry. 400 knives, I should say. Count them. 400 knives, right, taken off people in Crown Courts, and 2 guns. Now I'm thinking to myself, well, was this that one person walked up to a court there and they had 399 knives, right, in a bag, and they went to walk through? And then you've got one other person who's stupid enough to try and carry a knife into a Crown Court, because that's what it's got to be. And then, you know, two guns was. It has to be one person was packing 2 guns. It's got to be, because there can't be. There's no way that there can be 2 people, 2 separate individuals, right, that would walk up into a court. We'll speak about the knives in a minute. That would walk up into a court with a gun. I mean, this really must be like Brexit Britain. Regrets it. I mean, you're telling me, right, there are two people in this country who would walk into a court with a gun. Two of them. I mean, you know, this has got to be Brexit Britain, right? That they've confiscated 400 knives. When they say confiscated, yeah, they've arrested the person that was in possession of those knives. Right. Now I don't know how much individuals this was, whether it was just a few people who had loads of different knives, whether it was one individual that had 400 knives. But I do know they've confiscated 400 knives at Crown Court, right? And all of these, right, would have to be people who have gone to the Crown Court under their own steam, right? Because it would be impossible, right, for you to be in custody and be, you know, because I mean, if you was going straight from the police station, but then you wouldn't go straight to a Crown Court. So if you was coming out of prison, right? So what you'd have had to do was smuggle the knife out of prison, right, and then into the. I mean, so we can just assume that all these people took these knives into the Crown Courts themselves. I would say, yeah, that their level of stupidity is higher than a Brexiters. I didn't think you could get any higher. I'll be straight with you. I didn't think, yeah, that you could get a higher level of stupidity than a Brexiter. But you know what? If you take right, a knife into a Crown Court, then I don't even know. I've got no answers for that. I've got nothing. I've got absolutely nothing, and so I've got so little that I need to speak about Brexit because I've been on here. It's already 31 minutes. So we've got farmers are being told to rewild their land rather than, you know, grow whatever fruits, vegetables, or, you know, or meats. Right? They've been told that they must just make their land just rewild, make it back rewild, so that we can. It's like they want to go back to medieval times, right? That's what I wonder when the fucking beheadings are going to start, right? Because that's what they want to rewild. Okay, and then they're going to get some of that money. They're going to get some of that cash, right? What the EU used to send them if they do that, right? And we've got absolute chaos, right, at the borders at the moment with the new IT system, right? Because obviously, you know, a lot of these companies haven't been ready, you know, for the 1st of January, even though they know it's coming. Do you know what I mean? But it's going to cost them a lot of cash, right? And you know, most of them haven't got this cash to deal with this. And a lot of the guys from the EU will just be like, well, you know what, we're not sending shit. So our shit gets stuck up in customs, and then 3 or 4 weeks later, when everything's gone off, it's returned back to us. We're not going to go through that. Do you know what I mean? So they're just saying, you know what, they could just forget all that nonsense there. So our borders at the moment, there's absolute chaos going on, but none of it's in the news, is it? Not in the main news. No. Do you know what I mean? Not even been reported on your radio, on your talk radio or nothing like that. It's not really been reported on there. Do you know what I mean? They're all still talking about the Colson statue. Do you know what I mean? It's all some, like, you know, some tactics to say, you know what? Don't look over there. Look over there. Look, there's a car crash over there. Look, a car crash. Right, while they're emptying out the bank, because all they've done is they've just made 2 cars crash over there, so everyone's looking over there. These guys are over there, right? They're clearing out the bank. It's just how it works. And that, my friends, is Brexit Britain. The Brexit Britain that you fools asked for. And I will tell you this. I think you guys deserve Boris Johnson. Anyway, guys, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm GMC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.